For many decades, the UK agricultural sector has relied heavily on seasonal migrant workers coming to the UK to provide labour to grow and harvest crops grown on UK farms. UK farmers need workers to grow and harvest crops, and migrant workers from overseas want to come to the UK to work. The demand for goods comes from the market, and supermarkets and other retailers need labour to grow and harvest the produce to sell to consumers. That's why a visa scheme for migrant workers to come to the UK to work on British farms has existed in various forms from 1945 to 2024. Many global factors, including Brexit and the end of free movement in the EU, the COVID-19 pandemic and the start of the war in Ukraine, all had an impact on the labour market and the availability of workers to fill jobs on UK farms. At several points, there was a significant labour shortage in the UK agriculture sector. In 2019, the government announced the launch of the Seasonal Workers Programme as a pilot, which has since been extended to 2029. Launched, the scheme had a quota of 2,500 visa places per year, and the majority of workers came from Ukraine and Russia. But the number of visa places has increased rapidly. In 2022, there were 38,000 places available for horticulture and a further 2,000 available for poultry workers. In 2023 and 2024, a minimum of 45,000 visas plus another 2,000 for poultry workers. This can be increased by another 10,000 per year if the government deems this necessary to meet demand. Under the Seasonal Worker Scheme, migrant workers are allowed to work in the UK for up to 6 months in any 1 year if employed in edible and ornamental horticulture. There are certain restrictions. For example, workers on the visa are only allowed to work in horticultural jobs arranged by the scheme operator who recruited them and sponsored their visa. They are not allowed to remain in the UK long-term, claim benefits in the UK, or bring family with them. To recruit overseas workers to the scheme, the UK government authorised a small number of recruitment companies called scheme operators. UK farmers and employers have to hire migrant workers through the authorised scheme operators. The farmers and employers cannot sponsor a worker's visa themselves. The scheme operators are therefore also the migrant worker's visa sponsor. When the scheme operator recruits a worker, their job offer is confirmed in a certificate of sponsorship which confirms that the worker will be paid at least the minimum wage and have access to other workers' rights. It is the scheme operator's responsibility to ensure that the workers have access to rights and welfare. Sometimes scheme operators will use third-party brokers and recruiters in countries outside the UK to help recruit workers from that country. These recruiters should also be licensed by the GLAA. Seasonal workers' visas are issued by the Home Office. The criteria for who is eligible is set out in the Home Office's immigration rules, and the Department for Farming and Agriculture (DEFRA) outlines the specific work that is allowed under the visa. This includes crop maintenance and harvesting, packing and processing, and irrigation, among other things, and the job must be in the horticultural sector. The Gang Masters and Labour Abuse Authority (GLAA) is the main government authority which works to protect workers against exploitation. All scheme operators have to have a license from the GLAA. Unfortunately, the agricultural sector is particularly vulnerable to labour exploitation, and short-term seasonal visas are also associated with high risk of exploitation. Since the latest version of the Seasonal Worker Scheme has been in place since 2019, there has been a mounting body of evidence to show that risk of exploitation is high under the scheme.